All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Jake. I'm a co-founder of a company called Nativ Research out here. We throw monthly meetups at Blackfire Innovation, which started at the beginning of the year and simultaneously started throwing the same events as when Las Vegas NFT was founded. So I'll let Rob introduce yourself real quick.
My name's Rob, founder of Las Vegas NFT. I go by Open NFT. Started Las Vegas NFT back in March of this year. We have meetups every single month, average a couple hundred people at each meetup, and we encourage you guys to come. They're free. We normally have it at a restaurant. Food and drinks are available, stuff like that. So it's a great networking opportunity for you guys to really get an understanding of the space. It's from beginners to full devs. So even if you don't even know what a MetaMask is or anything like that, you're still more than welcome to stop by. So I encourage you guys to see you at the next meetup in January. It's at a Dick's Last Resort, so hope to see you there.
Yeah, and if anyone has questions during this conversation, please just raise your hand. I encourage just open questions, an open platform, because we know NFTs are brand new. Well, in terms of mainstream adoption, they blew up this year, but have been around since as early as 2014. So what we're going to try to do here is we're going to try to describe what NFTs are, and then we're going to go on and talk about this growing community of people in Las Vegas from Las Vegas NFT and Nativ Research, and then hopefully tie that in to make it very understandable to where this all plays in the broader economy of Las Vegas. I truly believe, as well as Rob and many other people in here, that Las Vegas is going to become the NFT hub across the country. And so there's different states that have kind of already taken specific roles in the crypto industry, where you have Miami leading in Bitcoin adoption, you have Texas leading in Bitcoin mining, and as it continues to go west, you have Wyoming in crypto legislation. And now out here in Las Vegas, there's a lot of different utility for it. So before we do get started, raise your hand if you've ever bought Bitcoin or Ethereum. Keep your hands up if you own an NFT. Wow, that is actually truly,
pretty good.
Truly amazing.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, there's two different types of tokens that exist, at least today. There's fungible tokens and non-fungible tokens. And the basic idea of fungibility is that whatever exists in this system can be replaced with one another, and it doesn't dilute the value. So for example, most things that are fungible are fiat dollars, the US dollar. If we all took a $1 bill and threw it down in this pot over here, and no one rushed and grabbed all of it, whatever dollar is pulled, the value still retained to the same. And then for non-fungible assets, pretty much most things in the world are non-fungible. Humans are non-fungible. Even some of these chairs that are mass-produced are non-fungible because there could be a slight variation in the composition of it. Vehicles, license plates. Houses. Pretty much everything is non-fungible. And so now you take that idea of non-fungibility and you move it onto the blockchain. And what exactly does that mean? I think we're kind of still figuring that out to this day. But Rob, I'll let you explain it a little bit from your perspective as someone who's
I'm not going to get too technical with a bunch of like acronyms and jargon and stuff like that. I guess just to put it simply in the terms of what I think NFTs are, it's just proof of ownership. It shows provenance on the blockchain, especially when it comes to say IP or trademarks. I have a feeling that's going to be something extremely valuable in the future. It's going to be kind of controversial at the same time. People probably have a lot of disagreement in how I approach that end of it, but I think that's going to be something that the courts are going to have to take into consideration in the future. But essentially, yeah, NFTs is just ownership on the blockchain, and it's proof. It's unmutable, like you cannot change it. You can't go in and delete it. You can't take it away from someone unless they agree to it. So that is why I'm really excited about this space. It's a new paradigm in thinking for people, especially artists, and ownership for actually real assets.
Yeah, and NFTs too, as he talks about verifiable ownership, we've never had anything that exists on the internet where you can verify a digital asset. When you own something non-fungible in the real world, example I like to use a lot is if you own a car, which is non-fungible, what are the things you could do with a physical non-fungible asset if I have a car? I could drive it, I could sell it, I could loan it, I could repair it, I could let somebody borrow it, and you could go on and so forth. But what happens if I own a non-fungible car in the digital world as an NFT? I could do a lot of those same things. I could sell it, I could loan it, I could lend it to somebody, we could rent it. But now you take the internet native aspect to it. Now I can put it into multiple metaverses. I could hang it into a digital, I could put it on the wall in one of my digital houses. I could turn it into a 3D model of a car and drive it around different games. So this is this like, I'll take in 1 second. You take this like new paradigm that has never existed before, and this is where a lot of the speculation, this is where a lot of the creativity comes into place, because we've never had verifiable ownership over digital assets.
What is the metaverse?
So metaverse also something that has multiple definitions. A metaverse is basically just a digital world of like some sort of self-sustaining economy, whether it has some sort of currency underlying it or a community. Some people think a metaverse could be something simple like Twitter, where everyone lives digitally, or it could be something more broad like Mark Zuckerberg's trying to attempt with Meta, and to basically create the VR version of what exists today. So if we were in a metaverse, some like to speculate maybe 10 years from now, this is completely virtual. We're all sitting in our own home, and we're all just tuning in and sitting here and having a conversation based off of, everyone here could have a CryptoPunk avatar that they're dressed as. You could have a Mooncat Metaverse pet next to you. There's all kinds of different things that NFTs that can intertwine with these metaverses, that we're still in the like very, very early and primitive days.
Yeah.
Ready Player One, yeah. Hopefully not as dystopic. Hopefully not as dystopic.
A metaverse can be as simple as just AR on your phone too. It's just a sense of different reality from different perception of reality that you're in right now. That's a metaverse, just a change of reality.
Yeah, and so now we're going to dive a little bit into Vegas and what's happening here. First, it's Josh in here. Thanks for him for throwing Tech Alley. We have a lot of these different emerging industries in Las Vegas right now, and I think a lot of us have agreed that the pandemic kind of accelerated a lot of these digital trends that existed, whether it's telehealth, remote working, a lot of delivery services have exploded in growth, e-commerce, and it continues to go on. And so now we're moving completely into these digital worlds. Vegas has this opportunity to kind of build on that economic diversity that it's been trying to attempt to solve over the last few decades. Earlier about 10 years ago, we had Tony Hsieh start the Downtown Project and kind of jump-started the whole tech movement out here in Las Vegas. Unfortunately, and RIP to him, I think he was a little bit too early. Tech hadn't really grown out. And so a lot of people are kind of associating this blockchain movement out here in Las Vegas and NFTs specifically as that next iteration from the individuals we talk with from different regulatory bodies, city officials, entrepreneur startups, crypto-based companies out here. Everyone's kind of gravitating around this like same idea of like what blockchain integration into Las Vegas means. And so, as Rob mentioned earlier, we both individually started meetups right around the same time. And it seems like now NFTs have more practicality in Las Vegas, especially when a lot of regulatory bodies like the Gaming Commission and so on have no idea what these even mean. Crypto's kind of had like a bad name, right? It was started on the Silk Road, it's drug money, whatever it can be. NFTs have this like mainstream adoption already. Yes, it's internet JPEGs, there's monkey avatars running around, people are making a lot of money. But I think now the mainstream has kind of caught on that you can tie a picture to something digitally, and for some reason that has stuck with a lot of people. And I've never seen anything, at least to this day, have such a fast scaling technology ever adopted. I know we're getting close to about 1 million NFT users across the world, which seems like a lot, but comparatively is actually very small. But Rob, I'll let you start with what have you seen from the first NFT meetup in March to now?
The first meetup, okay.
Yeah, right. What were your thoughts when you first started attempting to set up a Las Vegas NFT meetup, and what was your vision and then leading up to today?
So the whole reason I started the meetups was pretty much talking NFTs in my household. Everyone thought I was crazy. They don't even know what that analogy means. They didn't really care. They just saw me looking at pictures and trading Ethereum essentially. From there, I got kind of bored because I didn't have any friends who were interested in talking about it. And so I said, hey, anybody who's following me on Twitter here at Vegas, and I got a few people that put their hands up, and I said, hey, if you want to meet at Eureka Burger, I'll be there. I don't know what day it was, a Friday, if you want to hang out. So 3 other people showed up, Phil, Swervis, and our buddy Anonymous, who's not here, and that was the start of the first meetup. So we had 4 people, literally just to sit and talk about NFTs. 2 were artists. I don't consider myself an artist, but I do make NFT art. I'm more of a collector, curator. But from there, it was a common, interest in all 4 of us. And from that day on, we essentially just said, hey, would you want to do it again next month? And kind of I got the ball rolling because I'm experienced in doing businesses, so it wasn't really hard for me to conceptualize the meetups. I think just putting the effort and actually getting people intrigued and interested in this space is what is the hard part, actually. Standing also. But moving forward from the first meetup, it doubled every time. So it went to 8 people. Next, the third one was 16. And about the 4th one is when we really did a threefold to about over 50 people. So now on each meetup, we average about 300 people per meetup. Unfortunately, we're having to kind of make it a little bit more organic. So we're limiting it to 250 people per meetup from now on, just to keep the discussion relative and to keep it so everyone is interested. I don't like people coming in. I've noticed the meetups get so big where people who are maybe more I'm lost for the word, but essentially don't like to talk. They're wallflowers. They're inclusive,
Yeah, it's kind of the crypto, the broader crypto community. Most people tend to stay behind the computer the majority of their day.
Yeah, there you go, introvert, thank you. So I want to make it more valuable for people just like that and not feel so uncomfortable. So from the next meetups going on forward from 2022 on, we're going to keep them way more laid back, not as loud music and stuff, but we will have other major events for you guys where there'll be maybe thousands of people at one time. At one specific venue where you guys can all network and have a good time and make use of it.
And just from the community standpoint, now that they're growing at essentially the same rate that crypto does, it's like this exponential curve. What type of people would you say are composed of the community? Are there artists? Are they builders? Are they beginners? And kind of like that evolution, or we could say maturation of the community to now.
So when I first started, so it has evolved quite a bit. In the beginning, it was mainly just artists, and that was a huge part of it. That's kind of what got me into it, because I saw how you can make some art on either Photoshop, Procreate, Blender, whatever it ends up being, and you can take control of your own royalties and your own kind of collective in itself. You don't need a curator or some type of website to say what your art is worth. From there, it kind of got more, like Jake was saying, it matured a little bit onto the collector end, because people realized that you can make a decent amount of income by selling your artwork online. Again, not having to go through a third party to facilitate that for you. And then from there is where it got into where these huge projects started coming in line, where I'm sure you guys heard of Bored Apes and the Punks and other stuff, where these PFP projects essentially started taking off, and that became the norm. Going forward on that aspect, I think it's getting a little drawn out for the newcomers coming in and seeing that a JPEG is being sold for a few $1 million, which I am totally okay with, because I understand where the technology is based in that. But I think moving forward, this space is going to get more into in real life utility, and actually using a utility-backed NFT, not just a tech. How do I want to say, like a metadata-backed NFT. They will have both same playing fields, but I think the utility aspect, especially here in Vegas, is where we're focusing on in huge. It's going to conceptualize a lot faster than people think, because you're going to be able to get in a room, have a car, rent a car. I mean, we can go on and on for a long time. Did you have a question?
Repeat what you just said. There were a lot of words that I didn't understand.
Sorry,
yeah, Rob, can you?
What's a specific question you have?
I don't even know.
Rob, can you just define what utility in an NFT means?
Okay, so utility is going to be an action or a use from that utility. So if an NFT can essentially open your car door. An NFT can open a hotel room. An NFT can be a subscription service. An NFT can be a taco, it could be a hamburger. It could be literally anything. Again, it's something that's non-fungible, meaning that each one is different. So try not to overthink it. An NFT is just something that can be utilized in real life to actually use as a redemption value, on top of a collection value also. So it's multifaceted, it's multi-layered. And it's hard for me not to get too technological into it because I guess I've been doing it so long. I think it's easier once we go over the base of what we're doing to just ask me AMAs, so then I can kind of set it on a certain gauge of where you can understand it.
Jonathan.
On that note, as a product manager at CoinCloud, I'm trying to work on the on-ramping experience, right? So like now we're talking about this next evolution of NFTs to show that you have a concert ticket, like you can't access certain venues and events, it's verifiable, scalpers can't get away with just scamming people, right? I'm curious as to, you've been talking to regulators, the gaming authority, I'm curious to see like, what are the thoughts around on-ramping? Because the experience is still extremely difficult for people to on-ramp. You have to buy Ethereum or you have to buy whatever.
So I could touch on the regulatory part for a second. We, with Nativ, we met with some members from the Gaming Commission to try to understand their perspective. Right now, NFTs essentially kind of bypass or circumvent a lot of the regulation because an NFT could be a membership, right? MGM rewards can now be MGM NFT rewards, and every individual unique ID is minted on the blockchain and verifiable, which gaming has no way to regulate that because that's on the property or the casino operators itself. It could be an event ticket, right? Anytime you go to Omnia nightclub or XS is now an NFT airdrop to somebody's wallet. And also, NFTs are in a different tax bracket, at least for now. Right now, they're considered under the taxable income as art and collectibles, which for those people who are just interested in the tax implications is 28% versus capital gains, which is 37%. But from a regulatory standpoint, they're concerned with the anonymous nature of crypto, and also they want to prevent gambling addiction and spending. So I think what eventually is going to happen is every casino is going to have some sort of self-hosted wallet that they could put a firewall up where it says, John spent 4 Bitcoin today, that's his max limit, disallow him from spending anything more. So those are their big concerns, but most of them have no idea what crypto really is. So we're actually going to start next year doing private educational seminars for some of the people on these different committees to help get them up to start. But they are very interested in the technology, and they do realize that NFTs, more specifically in terms of the commission and the city, realize that NFTs in Vegas make a very uniform kind of economy because a lot of the things that exist in Vegas are non-fungible itself because it is this entertainment capital of the world, but it's moving to become an experience capital of the world. And what you see now with a lot of different NFTs like Gary Vee and Tom Bellew and a bunch of these other influencers, they're taking NFTs and turning them into experiences and access tokens, which basically means that if, I'm just going to use me for example, Jake Gallen drops a 10,000 token or NFT project, and now anybody who has that NFT can access my website or my Discord and get all of my workshops or masterclasses, or they could be in my Discord with me. So it's creating this gated economy, which for some people who have millions of followers they're more financially incentivized to do so, but then they could be more direct with their community. And then also some people like Gary Vee and their project, one NFT represents a podcast with Gary Vee or lunch with Gary Vee, or you get to go to the front row. You get to sit next to him at the Knicks game front row. So there's a lot of different experimentation that's happening. But as Vegas is an experience capital, a lot of those governing bodies are realizing that the potential, they just don't know how to get there or yet to fully conceptualize what really exists.
Maybe we shouldn't work.
Well, go ahead.
I'm in line with exactly what you just said. So I have a children's character, Big Head Bob, books, YouTube, merch, social media, virtual school classes. Everyone keeps telling me, do Big Head Bob NFTs. You need to do 10,000, it'll cost 10 to 20 grand. Does that sound accurate in any way, shape, or form?
I think the price will probably be a little bit higher. It depends on, I'm not a developer, but just from the discussions I've had, it depends on how many smart contracts need to be written. Basic 10,000 NFT, like a standard art collection, is just one contract, which could be up to that. I think it just depends on the dev team that you're working with. But for some projects with maybe even yourself, turning it into an NFT is just like the next evolution of what already exists. Like an influencer that we're building a project for, he already has 5 different master classes on his website that he regularly sells $4,000 a piece. And he also already throws a yearly conference in Las Vegas. So we're just creating an NFT where the NFT represents a ticket to the event, but also represents access to his website so that they could view or see all of the master classes. And when the user's done, they just sell the NFT on the secondary market. Somebody else can come in and watch all of those master classes, and then the creator gets royalties on top of it.
Don't let 10,000 be an arbitrary number either.
Yeah, that 10,000 was just created by CryptoPunks, and it just became the standard because that's most popular. But it doesn't have to be. There are people who just do literally 1,000 at a time.
Detailed question, is that the one that you just talked about just for an event of that 1 year, or if I hold it, I can come every year?
It depends on the creator. Gary Vee does 3-year access to his conference, VCon, which I believe starts in like
and then
March.
after that utility drop is gone? Or?
It hasn't happened yet, so I think a lot of people are still experimenting. Personally, I would play the wrong side where I thought there would be no value, like right when somebody just sell it right afterwards, but it hasn't happened yet, so we're still in uncharted territories.
I think my opinion it's going to be like a Grateful Dead ticket. You know, like people, you know, put them in plaques and frames and whatnot, and they save them because they remember the experience, or a Coachella ticket. You know, essentially that's, so the utility might be gone to actually get entrance into the venue, but the art on that NFT.
It's like a souvenir.
Yeah, and you could display it on your wall or, you know, wherever you want to, in a gallery, metaverse gallery and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll take your question one second.
I was just going to add on to
Oh, go ahead.
Because the utility dies doesn't mean you can't add further utility in the future.
Yep.
So a lot of people will give up things that may be souvenirs, and then out of nowhere someone can say, this is the new utility.
Yep, and also to add on, we'll just use Gary Vee as an example, right? The utility dies, but now Gary Vee has direct access to your wallet. So now he has all this list of wallet assets. Theoretically airdrop you another NFT or a discount to another event or something very unique to him. So you're basically cutting out the middleman. And to take it to Vegas, something we talk with like some people who work in the casino industry is you could cut out most of the casino hosts or VIP hosts, because if a user or if somebody comes to Omnia and has an Omnia NFT ticket, now I know where all my customers are. So I don't need a casino host directly contacting them to get them into it. I could just airdrop them free tickets to the next show, or I could airdrop them a unique one-of-one experience with Calvin Harris or whatever the creator or operator wants to do. So it's from both perspectives. There was somebody up here. Oh, is it Jeff?
That'll be their first move that the gaming industry will make. NFTs, do you think that'll be their first move?
In my opinion, I'll let Rob answer after this too. I think event tickets is like the low-hanging fruit for Vegas. My previous business was Chameleon Verified Network, where it was the same thing. We were trying to fight ticket fraud. And Vegas is actually one of the most event ticketed populated areas in the entire country. So it just seems like a massive use case. Long, what do you think?
I agree. I think I was going to say events, ticketing, bottle service stuff, you know, very exclusive clubs, stuff like that, where people are paying thousands of dollars to get in. An NFT accompanied by that would be a nice little bonus in my eyes to add value.
I was just going to say that one of the biggest subjects in the recent gaming conventions, from a technical perspective, was moving towards cashless gaming, where your phone's proximity to the machines actually is sort of how you do it, and it's connected to your bank account. And it seems like that would have a natural synergy with wallets and NFTs.
Yeah. Resort World actually partnered with Gemini Exchange, which is one of the most popular exchanges, to eventually integrate crypto. Right now they're doing the cashless system, which has had a lot of issues going forward. And from what I've heard, from the Gaming Commission has told me they still haven't approved anything yet, so it might just be marketing, but at least we're getting towards that direction. It seems like it'll be like a very frictionless.
Yeah. Do you have a question, Electro?
Yeah, so as far as the utility and whatnot, and possibilities of them losing their initial pizzazz or whatever. It was a lot of times whenever you're holding these particular NFTs, just having that particular NFT can give you access to somebody else's project, their NFT.
It's a good point.
Before other people, before the general public. So there's always utility after you usually.
Yeah. So so MGM, I don't know what other, I think they own almost every other casino in here, right? So MGM could essentially say, hey, if you're part of the Tropicana, I'm just using that as an example, we essentially will drop you this because you belong to that club. Because like Electro said, they're tied together and they can see your wallet. It's all very transparent. You can't hide anything on the blockchain. So it's a very good way for them to really incorporate exclusive events and tickets and stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, this is going to sound strange, but although I understand a lot of the things that you're talking about, there's also, I guess I have trouble sharing the enthusiasm for some of the stuff you just described. Like, I don't want my casino host at one casino where I lost $20,000 to know that either I spent $100,000 at a different casino or a lot less at another place. And all these other things about, like, I'm a member of Gary V's like club or whatever. The fact that all these people, again, I can't get away from them. I can't hide my other activities. All that stuff seems like a dystopian type of concept that is not appealing. I bought a ticket to see Adele. I'm going to go see Adele. That's the end. It ended. That's it. You're right. Like, I can put it on my wall or whatever, but they don't need to know what other kind of music I listen to or what my Spotify playlist is or all these other things that get connected, and that's the part that. And I own NFTs, but the NFTs that I own seem to be like directed at just focusing on their own things, and I guess you guys seem to be describing an enthusiasm for this whole constant connection and crossing that does not seem appealing.
So are you insinuating that like they're seeing other information that you're not actually putting out to the public?
Right. Once they are, if I have an NFT, they are attaching my wallet, and so they can.
Right. So if the casino.
Know everything else about you.
Well, the casinos could also create a private blockchain and then issue it that way, so that it would be the same idea of using your membership rewards today, where they have the central server and they're the only ones that could see it. It'd be kind of the same idea.
But instead of being private blockchains, most people are pushing on existing popular blockchains specifically so that they're not isolated.
It's also really hard to build
blockchain is moving towards, Ethereum or Polygon or
right. Yeah. I guess.
As opposed to having hundreds of different chains.
Right. I do think we're definitely going to live in a multi-chain world in the future. There are private companies that are working on private blockchain solutions, which is kind of the same idea. I guess it also just comes down to your preference of decentralization and privacy, because it could also, like, your wallet address is just a string of numbers and letters. So theoretically, you're just like a 26 hexadecimal, unless somebody can.
Right, until you show up at an event and then they know everything about you.
That specific, you can have 1,000 wallets. So you can just have.
Who wants to manage 1,000 wallets?
It's not that hard. It's very simple.
I understand. I understand. There is utility, but there's also a lot of.
Yeah, it's definitely not.
Like skipping that part.
This person.
That is going to be compatible with your privacy.
I guess so. So just your concern is a privacy aspect of it.
Privacy, lots of things. Again, the over-connectedness, the nonstop.
I would like to talk to you maybe on another, because I'm very intrigued when people have a misconception of what the blockchain is.
Yeah, we'll talk.
Doing,
we
that'd be
could
great.
talk afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Question right here.
Do you have recommendations of technology for things like managing multiple wallets, where you don't have to spend like forever to be like, okay, I have to go dig out what to log into this one, and here's my two-factor.
Yeah, there's services. Yeah, they can accommodate you.
In particular, for the use case you're talking about, where as a marketer, I'm like, that sounds awesome. But as a human, I'm like, well, you kind of need a way to organize so that when you're looking at, you know, your art collection, you're not getting crazy spammed with like concert tickets and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have recommendations of like software solutions or?
I mean, you could set one MetaMask and make multiple.
Yeah, it's still very early for NFTs. OpenSea right now is like the big NFT marketplace. It's pretty much like the equivalent of the entire world shopping at one Walmart. They have just recently they just allowed spam to go to a completely separate folder and hidden ones. And there are different wallets that are working on different NFT solutions. Like Coinbase is now doing their NFT marketplace where you can display them individually. Mark Cuban has lazy.com where you can display and categorize your NFTs for somebody else. But a lot of it is still very early where the technologies or the services have not been built out.
There's one called Nexus, Nexus. You can use that, and it will go through all your wallets on one MetaMask though. And it'll go through all your wallets, and then you can look at what collections are on there, and you could kind of purge them if you want and stuff like that.
From just a practical standpoint, because the tickets and non-fungible makes total sense. But in terms of timing, I mean, it's still pretty expensive to create NFTs. So when do you see that crossing over that it's now sensible to use an NFT for a concert ticket or something like that?
From a practical standpoint, we're definitely years away, I would say, until most of the NFTs exist on Ethereum, which has major scaling issues and gas fees. And now you have other NFTs moving to things like Solana and Tezos, which don't have nearly the amount of adoption as other ones have. So just like my own opinion, I would say we're probably at least 4 or 5 years away to see tickets practically used to where you could scan it. Some companies have that I've seen. If you sign up for their event tickets, they just send you an email with the actual ticket. It's kind of just provable because it does right now could just cut out the scammers, essentially. But in actual practical use, we're probably years away.
For what again?
Like using an NFT
ticket
to scan into an event.
No, we'll make it happen. Like, in a few months.
Yeah.
A few months.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a QR code that is an NFT.
No, we'll make it where it's actually like you scan it like Jake's saying, not a QR code, but actually you walk up just with your phone with an NFC, and then you have an RFID chip that's going to connect to them.
We're testing that at CoinCloud, so
okay.
It is.
Yeah, but yeah, it's possible. It's just.
Yeah, Mark Cuban's actually this season. I think it's this season. A bunch of the tickets are actually NFTs.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but he's very vocal about it.
But on a scalability, yeah, Jake's right. It's very expensive on mainnet, meaning Ethereum. Using and I think what happens, this all comes down to education. Like, if you educate your community in understanding what you're trying to do, if you're trying to implement tickets to your community, and you just educate them that, hey, I'm going to drop you a Polygon NFT. And they're like, oh, okay, it's not some spam NFT, it's not some crap. It's just you happen to deploy on Polygon for cost. I think that's the misconception right now is Polygon ends up being some crap side chain. When in my opinion, I think it's very valuable. It's just the people have gotten so used to getting so much stuff just dropped on them for free, where it's gotten that bad kind of network effect essentially. So again, it's going to go more on the education side of your community and teaching them of how you're actually going to deploy your contract in your NFT. So especially like say an event venue, food redemptions, stuff like that, which I'm working on, clothing redemptions. All these on mainnet are very expensive. The reason I particularly love mainnet is for security purposes, and that's another thing that a lot of people underestimate.
Cool. So outside of, I guess bringing it back a little bit, I did want to touch a little bit the historical aspect of NFTs or just the timeline and where it's progressed. So NFTs were at least the first signs of today were in 2014, and they began as domain registration. So just think of it as just like a website or your Twitter handle being minted on the blockchain. And it was something called Namecoin. So it didn't even exist originally on Ethereum. And then they moved over to Bitcoin in 2015, and then this is kind of where like the art and collectibles thing really took off. There was games like Spells of Genesis, and then a community art project called Rare Pepes, and a lot of the Bitcoin culture kind of like gets captured in these NFTs, and I think that's why NFTs today, where you see all of these communities forming around apes and punks and toads and monkeys and whatever animal they decide to surround themselves with, it really becomes these like cultural hotspots. And a lot of people have different interpretations of what NFTs mean. To me, I see them more as like gamified social arenas. I've seen people describe them as tokenized internet culture. Obviously, we went through a handful of utility prospects as well, and they're only going to continually evolve. And so in Bitcoin from 2015 to 2018, you had these like cards that captured a lot of the culture back then. You have to think in 2015, crypto was going through a bear market. A lot of people lost all their money through the Mt. Gox hack. And then Ethereum popped up in 2015. And then people really started experimenting because this was the first launch of a smart contract. And then this is where you started seeing Ethereum in 2015, which is just like this like metaverse game where you could buy digital land and build on top of it. And all these different experiment ones, advertising boards where you could basically just buy like a little pixel on this website screen and put your logo. And then CryptoPunks kind of really came in and changed the game, where they created a 10,000 set drop of these pixelated PFPs is what they're called now, profile pictures. Just looks like an 8-bit avatar. And so then people started putting these as their Twitter profile picture. And these kind of hung around. Oh, and Cryptokitties were in 2017, which was the first game or NFT that really blew up. It was a game of cats that you could breed, right? What'd you say? No, Cryptokitties in 2017 by Dapper Labs. It actually took down the Ethereum blockchain, or almost took it down towards the end of 2017. But basically, you could take these cats, you could breed them, it'd spit out a new cat, and they're all individual NFTs. And it kind of showed and captured that you could take these digital cards and build a community around it and capture the culture. And then NFTs died pretty much as just with the rest of the crypto market. And then earlier this year, we had Beeple come onto the scene, who was a digital artist. He'd been making digital art for, I don't know, I think it was like 15 years or something like that, every day. And then he started taking that art and minting it onto an NFT, onto the blockchain, and kind of like really jump-started the like speculatory bubble, but also onboarded a bunch of adopters as well. And so then for the most part of, I guess you'd say 2021, it was all about building collections, building profile picture drops, and there is still artists around there as well. But now we're really moving into today's day and age. There's a handful of us that were at NFT NYC, which is the largest NFT conference. And people were talking about like music NFTs and bringing NFT collections to life, partnering with film studios and writing books as each page is its own individual NFT. And it's just really cool to see where everything is kind of progressing, but it's really like a creator's game. I think what a lot of people are realizing, and we're seeing this kind of now with a lot of influencers building NFT projects, they're realizing that their million-person community has some sort of strength. Some people are building NFT games, which Susan touched on a little bit with her game. They're building NFT games. Some people are building NFT access portals. And still trying to speculate on everything as well. We just saw Nike just bought Artifact for an undisclosed amount, reportedly 9 figures. Adidas just did one, but there are a lot of these like brand, I guess you'd call them scams or just money grabs. But I think in 2022, we're going to see a lot more of these NFTs come to life. Just try to look past the price, which I know is really hard to do when itself when you see Beeple picture selling for $69 million. But all of the NFTs right now are priced in Ethereum. And so I think that's where a lot of that disassociation comes from. But I wanted to ask Rob, I wanted to ask Rob this as somebody who's been super involved with the NFT community through this whole year, just kind of like what your expectations are for 2022, any trends that you're seeing, just some of your foresight.
Do any of you guys deal with like decentralized exchanges by chance, DEXs? Okay, so not too many. So I think that's going to be huge. NFTs and DEXs. It's kind of self-governing your own finances essentially. That's going to be extremely huge. Gaming, that's already kind of taking off, but gaming, utilizing skins and utilities inside of games, that's something that is, highly underrated. If you know how to code using Python, Solidity, React, those are the programs you want to use. You can make some huge moves in your life if you learn that stuff. And moving forward into that, in real life redemption, I think is going to be huge, especially again, focusing here on Vegas. Like I spoke about before, just hotel tickets and all types of stuff that the NFT can be tied to. And again, if I guess going back to security, if you don't want an NFT in your wallet the whole time, you can always send it to a burn address, or you can actually transfer it out to someone who might want it. You never know. Someone, just because it doesn't have utility tied to it, you can always gift an NFT to someone who might enjoy the art. But utilizing moving forward, I think NFTs are going to be the future. By 2030, birth certificates, driver's licenses, deeds, trusts, all that stuff are going to be NFTs. People can FUD it all they want, but that is what's going to happen. It's way easier to keep track of, and the ease of use of the blockchain is what makes it easy for me, and I like that.
And also, you're wearing a Las Vegas NFT jacket, which is a project created by you and the community. Would you like to touch a little bit on that?
So an underlying, I guess, way we can explain this is this sweatshirt, this hoodie has a utility to it, meaning that I'm going to hold events for years on end, essentially. So whoever has this hoodie, this Genesis hoodie, is going to be able to get an event, maybe have redemptions for food, go to a casino and get maybe a suite, be at the Raider game and get a seat that I paid for, something like that, all because they have the hoodie and I can see who owns it, because again, I can see their wallet address, I can see everything that they've bought and actually all the transactions they've done. So from there, I can airdrop them. If Steve wanted to go to the Raider game, I said, hey, we have a suite that we paid for because you guys collectively bought the hoodies, so I have the funds to allocate for that event, then we can all benefit from it. So yeah, it's good for subscription base, community base, business base.
How would I get it?
Hey.
So you have to attend an in real life event. I make you actually work for it. You have to show up to an event, network with people, then you have to get in our Discord, and from when you get in our Discord, I change the role for you. And I want people who actually are productive and intrigued by NFTs and be part of the community. I don't want someone just on the East Coast saying, yeah, we love it, Las Vegas NFT and whatever, I want a hoodie. I'll be like, no, I want you to actually fly out here, come meet, shake hands, kiss babies, and and get to know people and have fun.
Got in the back.
What are some Vegas-specific projects that will be launching next year?
Vegas specific, man. I mean, I don't want to disclose any really people that I haven't agreed to say anything.
I'd say talk about some of the successful ones this year. There's a project called Eternal Royals, which dropped, which is a NFT project that is just like an art collection. And which is funny is that the three people who were part of the project all met at the meetups over the summer, and they had a successful, I think it was like 9,000 piece drop. I'm not sure what else. I know Phil is actually up here. Phil, raise your hand. Yeah. Is working on Combo Peeps, which I think is going to go live. He's up here. Oh, good. All right, hander.
No, they're saying
Crypto Sluts.
There's Full Metal Madeline. She does art. It's called Crypto Sluts. And then we have Combo Peeps, which Phil does Combo Peeps. So there are a handful of projects coming out in Vegas.
Mojo Heads.
Mojo Heads, yeah, Mojo Heads is a good one. Also, Sean Kelly with Chibi Dinos isn't here, has one as well. So a lot of these projects are emerging, and that's something that a lot of us have realized after bootstrapping the community over this year, is that everyone's kind of siloed working on it, but everyone has a very similar idea, and everyone's kind of on the same page.
The artist of Subtext had a gallery.
Oh, Frankie Nines, Frankie Nines.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's say you're an artist, you're a musician, you're a poet, and you want to break into NFT. What would you say is like the opening steps for someone that is non-technical?
Build a community. I get asked this every single day.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the contract. Don't worry about any of the tech, to be honest with you. This space is as grassroots as it gets right now, because you have to build community. Unless you have a famous name or following or something like that, then you can kind of do that, kind of jump in really quick. But if you're really starting off in this realm and you don't have an NFT community behind you, I would say build that and build a lot of rapport, and then from there you can, essentially drop many projects from there on out, because then you'll have someone who actually believes in you and, will actually travel with you through this whole experience. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
For quantities of NFTs in a drop, like you're talking about giving 10,000, you're like, oh, you can maybe do only 1,000. Like, as a creative person, I have an audience, but I don't know if I have an audience that I'm going to sell 10,000 pieces to, even if they're fabulous and have all kinds of great perks. What are the pros and cons for different sort of quantities, as far as if you have one that's more exclusive or one where you've got a gajillion of them?
I would say that it depends, again, like you're just hinting at the size of the community that exists. Adidas just did one 2 days ago. It was 30,000 and sold out, but they're Adidas that have like hundreds of millions of consumers. In the same week, Pepsi also did a drop for only 1,700 and also sold out. So it depends. I'd always encourage to start on the smaller side if you're somebody who's just beginning, just to see what the thirst is out there. And you could always do a second drop on top of it once a contract's deployed.
I did one 5.0, so it could be one too, really.
You did one that was just 50. People look at that and say, oh, that's not serious, it's only 50.
No, it's just, it's for this community, so it's the hoodies. So I was like, we're only having 50 and that's it. So it really, I think, makes the community very extremely centered and tight niched. So we all know everyone wearing this hoodie essentially wants to be involved, and they will show up to events. They will travel. We have people from out of state who've grabbed one. So yeah, the number, I think you can just kind of use as a base on how much community you do have. But I don't think if you have 10,000 members, you shouldn't drop a 10,000 PFP. You should try to actually use a ratio a little bit less, so you have a little bit of a cushion. You want more demand than you do of NFTs out there, essentially.
I don't know if there's
I have a question. Would it be feasible now, like we're tech people here, a lot of us are entrepreneurial, of using NFTs to raise money? Or is that more for a DAO?
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. They're a very strong source of crowdfunding. One example that I could use that most people are probably familiar with or will know the names, Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher did a crowdfunding NFT for their new show called Stoner Cats. Basically what happened is they brought their idea to a bunch of movie studios. They said, hell no, we don't like your idea, it's not PG or whatever the case is. So they said, we're just gonna go raise our own money. So they did, I don't know what the collection was, but they successfully raised a few $1 million, and the cats that are on the NFTs are gonna be used in the show, and I'm sure there'll probably be some sort of utility after that. So that's just one mainstream example. But
that's actually what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do an avatar drop, actually fund a marketplace and a platform that's going to use advanced technology, AI, and different things.
Yeah, Anna's also doing something that we've talked about. NFTs, they're how I describe them, and it's kind of just crypto in general. Traditionally, when companies want to raise money, it's after they're created, they go through private raises, right, Series A, B, whatever, and then you IPO. With crypto, you just generally IPO first. So you're creating that hype cycle, you raise the money, and then it kind of depreciates, and then that's when the building actually happens. So that's where it depends. And the investing, do you trust the team, or are you just trying to like flip it? But pretty much every project, for the most part, is you're funding them right off at the beginning.
Yeah, DAOs are huge here. I haven't gotten into DAOs. Yeah, like I bought part of a mountain through a DAO.
Yeah. And
you get an NFT for the percentage of the mountain that you own. So
it's the funk one, right?
The mountain, yeah, it's called Mountain DAO. So it's him.
What was like the objective of that DAO?
So it's.
Preserve the land.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story, dude. I belong to what's called funks. It's a reversed punk. I have a lot of those, and I belong to that community. And what happens is. We all came together because a guy who owns a funk wanted to sell a mountain for one of the zombies, essentially, which is worth about $1 million. So he said, I'll give up this mountain if you guys will trade me. No one really wanted to trade him, but we said, hey, we'll buy it off of you. So the whole community essentially funded this DAO to buy the mountain off of him. And that's what ended up happening. I don't get into legal
Yeah,
stuff.
DAOs.
I'm sure the DAO is like legally registered as.
There's with I'm in a few DAOs. The regulations behind it's still complete gray area. Some people tend to file an LLC in Delaware or Wyoming, even some do in Nevada. They all have their trade-offs, but then the issue becomes, what if 5 of the 10 members of the DAO are overseas? What if the DAO members are anonymous? There's really been no direction.
Some filing involved when you buy something.
I'm gonna be honest. Probably most people do not even file an LLC at this point.
With this particular instance, he does. I mean, yeah, it is a real piece of land. He does have a deed, and what stuff like that. Yeah, but in the future, I can see where you're going. Is the anonymity behind that and the legal structure? Yeah, it could. I think it's per one. No,
Yeah.
it's totally legitimate. I think per institution or per event, I think would matter.
Yeah, another example, I don't know if you followed on the news, Constitution DAO, where they raised $40 million to buy the Constitution. Sotheby's actually told them that they're not taking the ETH, that they have to convert it to dollars. So from what I heard on the back end, they set up a deal with, I forget the payment processor, that if they won the bid, it would be converted immediately to dollars. So there's still that like cutoff between the traditional world and this like evolving world that has not been defined yet. There was some, hold on, was there somebody over here? Was it you? Sorry.
I had a totally different question, so I want to let it.
Okay.
Any follow-up.
Jonathan?
Yeah, I have a lot of questions today. Going off of Julian's comment on like as a creator, right? Like, and you want to focus on community, but also what are some turnkey solutions that you can have? Like, you might have a community, and you're kind of ready to do something like websites and stuff that do it for you. That like, they won't rip you off, right?
So I made a thread on this on one of my accounts, the OpenNFT account, on how an artist or someone who wants to start a project mint. So there's you have a few different options. They have shared contracts nowadays, which they call gasless minting. So you're essentially sharing a contract with everybody. Like all of us in this room would be minting on the same contract. To me, I think that's okay on a learning curve. If you just want to experiment and see what it feels like to actually mint something, have it appear in your wallet as you're the creator and that type of stuff. The only thing with that, branding itself is not very good. Your token ID is one of like 20 gazillion. The contract you don't own, stuff like that. And then what ends up happening, you have a second option where you can actually mint on a platform. So you can go to OpenSea or Rarible, Mintable and whatnot, and you can utilize their hash, meaning you can utilize their wallet that they started, and essentially you'll mint under that wallet, but you don't get the seed phrases. The best way, in my opinion, is to have essentially a dev write a mini contract for you. Very simple, probably costs a couple $1,000s, and you control the contract. When you mint under your own MetaMask with your own seed phrases and your own hash, so that way a dev cannot rug you, meaning they can't run off with your seed phrases and your wallet.
Yeah, seed phrase is pretty much a password.
Seed phrases are 12 words that connect you to the MetaMask. And if you have those 12 words, even if you don't have the password or email, that wallet is yours.
Does it matter how complex the contract is?
Depending what you want to do, yeah. I mean, I guess that's kind of a broad question.
I mean, with the ownership, like you just said, like this is a way where you would take basically full ownership and you're not like.
Yeah, so the complexity of the contract won't matter. It just matters actually what wallet created, what wallet minted that contract onto the blockchain.
Yeah.
Are you seeing addendums? Because the biggest issue I remember hearing, like with the Ethereum blockchain and minting stuff, is like people make mistakes. So like, even the founders of the Constitution, you had an addendum as the Bill of Rights that we constantly add to. Are you seeing anything like that with some of these projects where like they have an initial mint, but then like they'll have addendums to it?
Yeah, like it happened yesterday through the Adidas, where they minted the contract, and you're supposed to have collections that you essentially pre-list onto that contract. So you can have, like Jake was saying earlier, if you own Nike shoes and a t-shirt, I don't even know, like Supreme came out with t-shirts and they say, hey, if you own Nikes, we teamed up together, you can order the Supreme shirt. That's how you can get a pre-list on there. But that's something done on like while you're writing the contract. You cannot change that once it's deployed. The reason Adidas had a hard time doing on, they had to change what's called the URI on the back end to actually add that contract. Somehow they made it work, but I think only because it was called, see, I'm getting too technical. It's called ERC 1155, and that's the only reason I think they could change the contract on the second hand. Otherwise, no, you'd have to do what's called a version 2 contract.
Yeah, basically what Adidas did is they forgot to list mutant apes as access to get on the whitelist and buy the NFTs before it hits the public market. Yeah. And so somehow they paused it and then written it in the back end. Which
normally you could never do that. And
it's
you
right here,
really
and then we'll go there in a second.
Do you guys want to talk about the difference between on-chain and off-chain minting?
I could talk about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
On-chain, you're very limited on data. I believe it's 32 megabytes. So the pictures that you're able to actually store on-chain and the data, meaning music or even a movie, a GIF, anything of that nature, is extremely small. So on-chain metrics are pretty hard to do, and it's quite expensive. I only say to do that if you're doing something that it's almost just for the clout, to be honest with you at this point. If you're a blockchain maxi and you really just want to have stuff permanently on chain and you don't want to use a third party like IPFS or Amazon, AWS.
Yeah, it's like your decentralization preference.
Yeah, correct. So that's I guess the main difference. On chain, it would be fully decentralized. Off chain would be where you're requiring a third party facilitator to host that image or data.
Yeah, a lot of the images are hosted on either IPFS, which is like kind of decentralized and centralized, but a lot are actually hosted on AWS. So if AWS went down, then the images wouldn't render on the NFT itself.
There's one called Pinata also.
Yeah, Pinata.
Yeah.
First of all, I've been to a couple of your meetups. They're great.
Perfect.
So thanks for that, Jake and Rob.
Thank you.
I know you just went to the NFT meetup in New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
When's Vegas going to happen?
Oh, they're doing NFT Land is here March 22nd through the 25th. It's actually a competitor to NFT NYC, which is thrown by Jimmy42 and a bunch of other like large NFT influencers. So they are definitely going to be coming out here taking over Vegas. Price right now for a ticket, quite expensive, is actually 0.3 ETH. So today's equivalent would be like $1,000. But I haven't seen much marketing behind it yet, but they're definitely going to start ramping those up here soon.
We are going to have events
3
here.
days,
We are going to host a week-long event also.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.